Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling confused? Like somehow you became the problem even when you did nothing wrong? Especially you know yourself, that your intentions have always been pure. That's not an accident, that's manipulation. And you might just have been manipulated by a toxic person. And a toxic manipulator might just be within your circle. Let me break down the hidden tactics of what toxic people use, and I will help you spot them instantly. I have also put together practical tips to help you fight back and protect yourself from these toxic people. Remember, once you see these patterns, you will never see the once innocent-looking one the same ever again. So what makes someone toxic? Let's get something straight. Not everyone difficult is toxic, but toxic people operate on one core principle, and that is control. Psychology defines manipulation as influencing someone's emotions or actions for personal gain, often through deception or pressure. And here's the dangerous part. It doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes it looks like a genuine concern, love, and even kindness. But underneath, it's about power and personal gain. Now for you to recognize these forms of manipulation, I have listed the top 6 manipulative tactics, and I will share to you useful tips to help you identify and counter them effectively. Number 1 on the list is gaslighting, or otherwise known as reality distortion. This type of tactic makes you question your own memory. You will notice their usual phrases are, "That never happened," or "You're overreacting." If you don't pay attention to the exact details or sequences of events, this will erode your confidence and makes you rely on their made-up version of reality. If you constantly feel confused around someone, you have to pay close attention to the details and trust your memory. So how do you combat this behavior? Very simple ways are taking notes down, taking photos or films, or even having at least a trusted buddy on your side who can attest for you. Remember, most of all, trust your memory. Number 2, the guilt tripping, or otherwise known as emotional blackmail. The most common phrases for this type of manipulation are, "After everything I've done for you," or "I helped you out on your lowest when everyone turned their back on you." Sounds very familiar, right? This type of manipulation works well because humans are wired to avoid guilt, and the toxic manipulator weaponizes your empathy, your kindness, and your caring nature against you. So how do you combat this behavior? Very simple. Stop confusing guilt with responsibility. Just because someone feels disappointed doesn't automatically mean you did something wrong. Toxic people often use your kindness as leverage to control your decisions. Stay calm, set clear boundaries, and don't rush to defend yourself every time they try to make you feel bad. Simple phrases like, "I appreciate what you've done, but that doesn't give you control over me," or "Helping someone shouldn't come with conditions attached." This can instantly shut down emotional blackmail. Remember, real kindness is given freely, not used later as a weapon to manipulate you. Number 3 is projection. The manipulator projects a behavior onto the victim of exactly what they are doing themselves. Their common phrases? "You're dishonest," or "I feel manipulated," or "You're controlling." This is a blame-shifting tactic towards the victim and allows them to avoid accountability. So how do you defend yourself from this behavior? Very simple. Don't automatically accept accusations without evidence. Manipulators often project their own toxic behavior onto you to confuse you, make you defensive, and shift attention away from what they're actually doing. Stay calm, focus on facts, and pay attention to patterns instead of emotional reactions. You can respond with phrases like, "Can you explain what I did specifically?" or "Let's focus on the actual issue instead of making accusations." This forces the conversation back to reality and makes it harder for them to hide behind blame-shifting tactics. Remember, people who constantly accuse others of toxic behavior are sometimes revealing more about themselves than they realize. 4. The silent treatment. This isn't just a space for you to breathe. It's a punishment. In toxic situations, the silent treatment becomes a form of emotional punishment and control. Instead of communicating honestly, the manipulator suddenly withdraws attention, affection, or communication to make you feel anxious, guilty, or desperate to fix things, even when you did nothing wrong. They may ignore your messages for days, avoid eye contact, act cold for no clear reason, or pretend you don't exist at all. And the worst part? They usually expect you to chase after them. The goal is simple: to make you uncomfortable enough that you eventually give in, apologize, or submit to their demands just to restore peace. Psychologically, this tactic works because humans are wired for connection. Being ignored triggers feelings of rejection and insecurity, which toxic people use to regain control without ever having to communicate openly. Their unspoken message is, if you don't do what I want, I'll withhold my attention and make you suffer. So how do you defend yourself from this behavior? Very simple. Don't reward emotional punishment with desperate chasing. Give them space, stay emotionally grounded, and refuse to beg for basic communication or respect. Healthy people communicate problems directly. They don't weaponize silence to control others. You can respond calmly with phrases like, "I'm willing to talk when we can communicate respectfully," or "I understand you need space, but ignoring me won't solve the issue." This removes the power from the manipulation and shows that you won't be controlled through emotional withdrawal. Remember, silence can be healthy when used for reflection, but when silence is used to punish, control, or manipulate, that's not maturity. That's emotional manipulation. 5. The triangulation tactic. Instead of talking to you directly, they involve a third person or even more individuals. They might say things like, "Even they think you're wrong," or "Other people have noticed your behavior too." At first, this can seem harmless or even reasonable, but in reality, triangulation is a type of manipulation designed to create confusion, insecurity, jealousy, competition, and division. Instead of solving problems openly, the manipulator pulls other people into the situation to pressure you emotionally and weaken your confidence by attempting to gain manipulated approval from others. Sometimes they compare you to people around you. Sometimes they gossip behind your back. And sometimes they intentionally pit people against each other while pretending to stay innocent. Isn't that just as evil? And the goal? To make you feel isolated, defensive, or desperate for approval, while they stay in control of the narrative. This tactic is especially dangerous because it creates emotional chaos. You stop focusing on the actual issue and start worrying about what everyone else thinks of you. So how do you defend yourself from this behavior? Very simple. Refuse to play the comparison and gossip game. Bring the conversation back directly between you and the person involved instead of allowing outsiders to control the situation. You can calmly respond with phrases like, "If there's an issue, I'd rather discuss it directly with the person involved," or "I'm not interested in competing for approval or being compared to others." This shuts down the divide and conquer tactic and forces accountability back into the open. Remember, healthy people solve problems directly. Manipulative people recruit audiences, create sides, and thrive on confusion and drama. Number 6. Love bombing and then withdrawal. This tactic could appear as the most harmless of all 6, but it's often just as calculated and damaging as the others. At first, they overwhelm you with attention, affection, compliments, gifts, and consistent communication. They make you feel special, seen, or chosen, like you've finally found someone who truly understands you. Everything feels intense and almost too perfect. But then suddenly, they pull away. The attention disappears. The affection becomes inconsistent. And the warmth that once felt endless suddenly becomes cold and distant. This creates an emotional addiction because now, instead of enjoying the relationship naturally, you begin chasing the good version of them, the version they showed you in the beginning. And that's exactly the trap. The manipulator gives you just enough affection to keep you emotionally attached while slowly conditioning you to work harder and harder for their approval. Psychologically, this creates what's called intermittent reinforcement, the same pattern that makes gambling addictive. You never know when the affection will return, so you keep chasing it. So how do you defend yourself from this behavior? Very simple. Pay attention to consistency, not intensity. Real relationships are built slowly through trust, honesty, and stability, and not emotional extremes and instant attachment. Don't ignore sudden shifts in behavior just because the beginning felt magical. You can protect yourself by slowing things down, maintaining your boundaries, and refusing to tie your self-worth to someone else's attention. Remember this powerful truth. Real love brings peace, consistency, and emotional safety. Manipulation creates confusion, anxiety, and emotional dependency. And if this video opened your eyes even a little, make sure to like, subscribe, and join the Behavior in Man community. Because the more you understand human behavior, the harder it becomes for toxic people to control you. I'll see you in the next one.